BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I would like to invite you to another conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. In this conversation, we'll be talking about the Kundalini Syndrome. But first, I would like to thank Santara and the O'Connor family of the Kingdom of Kerry in Ireland. They have so graciously given us the ability to have this show and set it up and did the whole thing. And so I'm very, very grateful to the O'Connor family and Santara in particular. For those of you who do not already know, I would like to give you some of the other venues where you can get information about your Kundalini Awakening experience outside of BlogTalk Radio, and that would be Kundalini Awakening Systems, #1.com. That's a website. It's Kundalini Awakening Systems, #1.com, and also you can go to Kundalini Awakening Systems 1, again, #1, at yahoogroups.com, and you can go to Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Facebook. We have a group there. We also have Kundalini Awakening apostrophe, and that's also on Facebook. And we have a new one on Google Plus called Kundalini Awakening with an apostrophe after that. You may also go, if you wish, to YouTube, and the channel there would be Chrism and then the #0 Kundalini, and that has about 224 videos, short videos about your Kundalini awakening experience. So many of the things that can happen, and we cover a lot of the topics that we are covering here on BlogTalk Radio. I would like to thank in advance. I'd like to thank, of course, Amelia Santara, Eileen Lauro, and the many people who support and help myself and the Kundalini Awakening Systems program to exist and to have these opportunities for outreach into the populations, because many people are having this and yet they don't know what's going on. And that kind of ties in with the conversation for today. Before I start, I would like to give you the call-in number, if there's anybody who would like to call in. And that number is 347, and you may have to put a 1 in front of that if you're calling internationally. 1 in the country code. I believe that would be the United States country code, which I think is 01. Anyway, so it's 347-934-0026. Once again, that is 347-934-0026. Also, there is a gathering that is being organized, and it is on April 19th. It is in Santa Rosa, California. This looks to be a very, very, very interesting gathering. A very, very, a gathering that I feel is going to be very, very successful for a lot of different people. And I encourage any and all who can make it to come to this gathering to participate in it. You can get more information on the Kundalini Retreat in Santa Rosa, California. It's Friday, April 19th, and it's a 2-day retreat. It's a 2-day Kundalini retreat, and it's an opportunity for meditation and exercise and education about the awakened Kundalini and an invitation into the awakening of your own spiritual evolution. So give it consider this. This is not a common thing that is offered really on the web by anybody that is not charging you $100 million to do it. So consider that. And let's get into our conversation. Often, when Kundalini, when people have a Kundalini experience, often they won't understand what's happening. They'll have no idea really what's happening at all. And the very first thing that will happen within that context is the person will go into fear. The person will go into fear, and inside of that fear, they will start to make decisions that, can negatively affect how a person responds to the Kundalini. And, one of the first things that a person can feel is that they feel like they're possessed. They feel like there's something else inside them that isn't them. Therefore, i.e., it's not the typical choice matrix that the person is used to feeling. And so, with that in mind, it's challenging to say the least. Challenging to say the least. Within the same context, we are so used to making all the choices and all the decisions about what we do and how we do what we do. And Kundalini won't necessarily allow that to occur. It has its own agenda with you. It has its own agenda, and its agenda will take over control. Its agenda will take over control of the person's choices and the individual understandings that the person will receive inside of the experience. Now, it looks like I have a caller here. Go ahead and... Hello. Thank you for calling in. Who am I speaking with?
I just want to listen.
Oh, okay. Very good. Very good. Go right ahead.
If I have a question, I'll push
Sure.
1.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
So yeah. The first thing that a person will often feel is that, they have this level of possession occurring because they're not in control, at least to the degree that they have been in the past, of their life experience. This, it's easy to say. It's much harder to experience. All of a sudden, for however many years you've been alive, all of a sudden you have no control over certain aspects of your life that, till that moment you've had total control over. That can really upset a person. That can really, really rock a person's reality and cause a person to question their sanity, cause a person to really go into deep states of fear. This is what happens. This is the seed beginning of a Kundalini Syndrome experience. Unfortunately, in our society, there isn't a lot of information about people going into the Kundalini awakening experience. What typically happens is they'll go to an MD, or they'll go to a psychologist or psychiatrist or a counselor, an employer or somebody that they trust that they feel is in a position of helping them out with this type of a issue. And in our society, there really is very, very, very few people who have any idea of what is occurring inside of this type of an experience. And so, if they go to an MD or a psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, one of the first things that's going to be diagnosed for them is that they're having schizophrenic tendencies or bipolar tendencies, and a drug or chemical regimen is prescribed to them, and from there it can be difficult. Kundalini doesn't really respond well to chemical incursions. I'm sure that there are some chemicals out there that can really, really, have an effect on the phenomena, but it doesn't put the Kundalini away. It doesn't, the Kundalini, once it's awake, it's awake. It stays awake. It's a natural evolution of our humanity, and so of course, evolution will have its way. Spiritual evolution will have its way. And so, as a person begins to experience this feeling of being possessed and losing control of their life, and they initiate fear into the process, fear opens up other avenues of fear. So in a way, fear begets fear. And this fear can cause pain. This fear can cause pain in a person, and blockages can occur. And as these blockages occur, more pain can be experienced, and it becomes a self-replicating situation and a spiral into extreme states of difficulty. As this spiral continues and the pain continues because the energies aren't being allowed to flow, it will affect the mental state. And your mental decision-making capabilities will be affected. And paranoia can set in. And as the paranoia sets in, the world, the reality of a person can begin to shrink and begin to close off. I've had experiences with people who their paranoia becomes so intense that they retreat into a room in the house, and they'll block off all the windows, and they'll begin to hear voices. Entities will begin, because many entities are out there that enjoy the process of fear. It's something that they can feed upon, and so those entities will come in, and they're typically of not the nicest quality of entity, and they'll start telling the person to kill themselves or to hurt themselves in some way, or to hurt other people, and because the person's reality matrix has been so altered by their fear and the amplification of the fear within the Kundalini, they begin to pay attention to these things in many cases, and I've run into people, excuse me, who retreat not only into the one room in the house, but they retreat into the closet of that one room, and they won't come out. They'll take their food in there. They'll do their excretions in there. I've even known of people to cook their food inside the closet because they don't want to have anything to do with the outside world. They don't want to have any kind of a light source coming in. They're basically becoming consumed by a very, very difficult and hurtful experience brought about by the Kundalini, not so much, though, brought about by the Kundalini, just brought about by a lack of information about the Kundalini. And the Kundalini itself does not have this agenda with you. The Kundalini itself has a very positive and beautiful evolutionary agenda with the person. But within our technological society and our society in the West, which is typically, and I do say typically because not everybody, I'm not speaking in absolutist terms, but typically the organizations that have power in our society, like science or finances or governmental or educational healthcare sources, do not recognize the Kundalini. So they don't really have anything to say. They recognize some of the symptoms, so they'll call it bipolarism, or they'll call it schizophrenia, or they'll call it, spiritual emergency. But they won't attribute it to any kind of a level of importance or a degree of importance that allows it to be studied and validated as an actual event within a human experience. It becomes more of a psychological issue or a psychiatric disorder. And as they pursue that type of an attitude, that prohibits any kind of rational, experiential-based, inquiry, scientific or otherwise, that allows it to be understood in a better way. And so, a person can go extremely into an extremely dark and painful place with the Kundalini when the Kundalini Syndrome is allowed to occur. Now, there is also levels of karma that will help a person go into a Kundalini Syndrome position. And you might think, wow, gosh, what a terrible karma. And in some cases, yes, it very much is. Excuse me. And so that person will be allowed to have a dark, hurtful Kundalini experience for a certain amount of time. And their reality will be controlled to the degree that another person or information will only be given to them in specific ways. A person passing them on the street might say a certain word, and that might trigger a certain level of information that comes into them, or a sight, seeing a certain episode played out in their daily life will trigger a certain level of information to be given. And so they slowly begin to pull themselves out of this situation. In many ways with the Kundalini, because it knows our society, it knows the level of technology addiction we have, and it knows the individual person's level of intuitive understanding about what is occurring to them. It knows this, and so it begins to initiate a program of information, but also a program of enforced acceptance to what is occurring. And depending on the person's level of resistance to this enforced acceptance to the Kundalini will determine how bad and how long the symptoms will last. The longer the person resists, the longer this particular education is going to last. And so I will encourage those out there who are experiencing this right now, stop resisting. Also stop listening to the entities. That's another big deal right there. As I mentioned in another conversation, The entities really should not be communicated with, no matter what they say to you, no matter what you see them do or whatever interaction with them you have. Discarnate entities, or entities that don't have a body, don't have any business directing or controlling a person who has a body, and certainly not a body that's having Kundalini. So I'll just kind of leave that as it is, and if you're interested in more of that information, please go to the other conversation about discarnate entities. So as the person resists the Kundalini persists and continues to give the individual the level of experience that is required for their karma to be balanced, but also for their education to be increased. And so once again, don't resist the Kundalini, and do not go into fear over this. This is not to be afraid of. This is not something that needs to cause you a lot of fear. I've had this for over 23 years, and when I started out with my experience, I didn't know what it was. Certainly had no idea about what the source of my symptoms were, all Kundalini symptoms, right? And so, the first thing I went into was fear. I went into fear. But I'd had kind of an interesting childhood up to that point anyway, where I was, as a child, I was living the effects of a previous Kundalini awakening. And so, as a child, I had the visions and I had the special skills, but it between my childhood and what I'll call the second awakening in this lifetime, in this physical body, there was a hiatus. So there was a period of about 10 years where I didn't have any of these things. So I was able to live a somewhat normal life and become, quite enamored with living a life of the five senses and whatnot. And so when the Kundalini began to change this body when I was 30, it was a fearful event for me, and I did a lot of the things that I'm describing to you. I went into fear. I started hearing, the entities, and I could actually see them, and didn't know what to do. You start hitting the books at Barnes and Noble and the other bookstores, and you start doing your research, and nobody really knows anything about what is occurring. Even these days, you have some people that claim to have had Kundalini, and they make these absolute statements about what you must do, what you must not do, and if it doesn't fit your situation, and then it, of course, it won't work, then it doesn't really help you. And so I set out on a journey of information and resistance. I can honestly say that I made every mistake that I am telling you and suggesting to you not to make. Okay, my education was given on an experiential level. There weren't any books to read about this. The only book, actually, and I got this like after a decade into the experience. I read Gopi Krishna's book. He hadn't written it when I first had my Kundalini, my initial experience. And, when I read his book, wow, that was a shocker. And his book, the author's name is Gopi Krishna, and the book is Kundalini, the Evolutionary Energy in Man. And it's basically a biography of his experience with Kundalini, which is a terrible, terrible experience. Once again, he had Kundalini Syndrome as well. And it almost killed him. And I'm reading that, and I'm going, wow, that's what I've got? Oh, jeez. How horrible is that? So it took me a long, long, long time, and it took me a lot of trial and error and many different experiences that I can't go into in this short time that I have here. But I survived. The unfortunate outcome for many people that have Kundalini Syndrome is they'll commit suicide. And the entities will encourage them to commit suicide, and so it seems like the thing to do. And I will say, no, you do not need to commit suicide. You don't need to hurt yourself in any way. You don't need to hurt anybody else in any way. If you look at some of these gun incidences that have been happening in 2012 and in the United States and other areas of Europe and the world, you'll see a lot of people being killed by typically young men who, if you look at them, it's fairly clear that they're being possessed by entities. Not necessarily within a Kundalini context, though. They're being possessed by entities by virtue of pharmaceutical, SSRI type of ramifications. But these medicines allow the entities to come, and the person will hear voices, and so on and so forth. And you can see, some very, very disastrous results from this. This is similar to what the Kundalini Syndrome will bring about. I mean, as we begin to open spiritually some of the harsher, more violent aspects of the spiritual universe will begin to be accessed, and in that access, certain malevolent qualities can be allowed to come through, and the Kundalini will allow this as a way of helping a person come into ethical expression and balance within the society that they're in. And these ethics, some of the cross-cultural ethics are to do your best not to hurt other people, do your best not to kill, not to harm, not to be dishonest, i.e. don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, that type of thing. And these high ethical standards are one of the great basic teachings of the Kundalini. And if you don't come into Kundalini at a level of fear, and then if you don't begin to spiral into that, the Kundalini Syndrome, these ethical standards of conduct are very, very clear for the person, and these ethics will actually serve as a prophylactic against Kundalini Syndrome. Because if you extrapolate on some of the ones that I just mentioned, you begin to see that, well, if you do no harm, well, that includes harming yourself as well. And so if you do not harm others, you do not harm yourself, and all of a sudden you become an expression of grace upon this world. And this is what Kundalini really is. It is an evolutionary education and transformation into a body, a physical body of grace. Some of the ancients would call it, sorry, I dropped the phone here. Some of the ancients would call it the divine flesh, or the flesh made divine. And this is one of the primary goals of the Kundalini, as it is, opening within a body in a person. So some of the other things that can occur with the Kundalini Syndrome is as your mental mind and your physical body becomes taken out of your normal comfort zone, it can affect your job situation, which is what happened for me. I lost my job, and lots of people will lose their job. I mean, think about it. If you're camping out in your closet, you're not exactly getting ready to go to work. So the job situation goes away, which means the money situation goes away. which can have a negative effect on your social relationships, your love life. It'll have a very deleterious effect on your love life, and so your entire reality begins to crumble, and a person winds up homeless on the street, which is what happened to me. And as this occurs, many, many different things are happening that are of a positive nature. The Kundalini will constantly strive to give you advice and experiences that are positive too. But if your fear is so strong, you're just going to have to go through that level of fear for a while. This can last years, but it doesn't have to. If you know not to resist, if you know that this is a positive, natural, evolutionary function of a human body, then you realize that my body's wired to have this. My body is wired to have Kundalini. Therefore, I do not have to be negatively affected by this experience. As a matter of fact, this experience in many ways is so, so very beautiful and so loving and so comforting and so different than what I would have ever expected my life to be. And if you just look at some of the phenomena associated with it, having experience of being in two places at the same time, or having a broad or a narrow band telepathic experience, seeing waking visions, having animals land on you or come up to you, wild animals that are have no fear of you all of a sudden. Having amazing dream visions where you're given very, very specific teachings about ethics and about how you handle certain situations in your life. This happens every day. This will happen 24/7 for a person who is on the street inside of a Kundalini, awakening that's been allowed to go into a syndrome. Sometimes we need to have that breakdown in our reality in order to remove some of the expectations that we have in our reality. Expectations. So, for instance, you expect to be in total control over everything that you do and think and see and feel and experience on a physical level. Well, that's just not the way it is. Sometimes surprises occur. And Kundalini is one of those surprises. But until you can get that ideology out of your system, you won't be able to accept what the Kundalini has to bring, because you're not in control with Kundalini. It is in control, and it is this unknown, unseen force. And so once again, in our primal fear, can come up, and unless it's assuaged in some way, it can serve to have that, a hard effect on your reality matrix. So, what some of these issues are. You know what they are. You know that you can have paranoia. You don't know what to eat, what not to eat, although the Kundalini will guide you, but you're so used to eating and drinking whatever it is you want that you'll just resist the Kundalini guidance, and you'll go ahead and eat all these things and put into your body all these things that are absolutely horrible for your body and for the Kundalini going through you. And so you suffer, and you suffer, and you suffer, and you suffer. And pretty soon you may get the indication that, maybe I shouldn't drink all this alcohol. Maybe I shouldn't be smoking all of these cigarettes or whatever recreational drug the person might be smoking. Maybe I shouldn't be engaging in these challenging sexual practices. And this is something that I haven't mentioned yet, and I'll go ahead and mention it. Kundalini is partially responsible for the sexual drive within a person. It is actually the root energetic source of the sexual expression, but it mixes. There's a shared responsibility of an energetic quality between the Kundalini and the Chi energy, or Ki, however people want to pronounce CHI. Kundalini is not Chi, and Chi is not Kundalini. However, Kundalini will use Chi in certain ways in order to affect certain changes within the human system. And that includes the sexual response. And, a person can drive themselves insane to a certain degree with an overstimulation of the sexual expression. And this can get them into a lot of trouble. This can put them into jail. And then, if you add entities to that, do this or that with that person over there, and you're responding to that, well, yeah, that can hurt your freedom severely. And so, once again, do not resist the Kundalini and do not put fear into it, nor will I suggest you put accelerated levels of lust into this. Watch your lust control. I mean, if you have to self-stimulate, fine. Self-stimulate, that's fine. That's at least, it's not involving another person. But even then, don't get so wrapped up into the sensate or the sensation of what the Kundalini awakening can bring. This does happen. And the Kundalini itself will bring on rapid onset of orgasmic experiences, and I mean rapid. I mean, people walking down the street will have orgasms, maybe 10, 12 seconds apart. It can become a real problem, actually. It's like drowning in milk, or being suffocated by gold. I mean, it's this wonderful, wonderful thing, but, you kind of stagger from parking meter to parking meter, so be advised. With the Kundalini, you have this information now. I've described to you in very real terms, experiential terms, what Kundalini Syndrome can be, and this is just some of it. Our human system is a fairly complex deal. I mean, you have 17 trillion typical human, 17 trillion cells. All of these cells are affected by Kundalini at the same time, and yet the Kundalini has its own agenda for certain systems in the body at a certain time, and not everybody is the same. One of the most similar experiences will be the Kundalini works in the endocrine system first, and begins to transform the ductless glandular systems. That is a fairly common experience. But then, all the different phenomena that comes. One person will have one phenomenon, another person will have another one, and they may experience each other's phenomena, but at different times in their life, different times of their Kundalini process. And so it isn't the same for everybody, and yet there are some similarities. Okay? So it's hard for me to come out and make absolutist statements about a person's Kundalini awakening experience without the caveat of saying, hey, we're all unique people. This is different for each person, and yet there are similarities. The level of Kundalini Syndrome is severe, and it is hurtful, and it is painful, and it is scary. It is frightening. But only because you don't have information on it. You have information now. If you listen to these conversations on this BlogTalk radio channel, the Kundalini Awakening Systems channel, if you listen to all of these conversations, and I suggest that you do, I suggest that you go back and you listen to to every single conversation that we've had and allow yourself to be educated about what Kundalini is, then the Kundalini awakening that you're having right now, or the Kundalini awakening and activation that you are seeking, will go so much better for you. My only agenda really is to educate people about this so that you have a better opportunity to make positive choices within your Kundalini awakening experience. So let's talk about that. So you're having the Kundalini Syndrome, you feel like you have a snake in your spine, and you're kind of writhing on the ground, you're having kriyas, you're having visions, entities are saying, kill yourself, kill your wife, kill this, kill that, kick your dog. All of a sudden, you come into this information. And I'm just going to say, stop everything. Stop being afraid. Stop listening to the entities. You may not be able to stop seeing things, but stop being afraid of what you see, even if it is fearful. You are becoming a very, very, very powerful individual. You're not becoming all-knowing, all-seeing just yet, okay? But you're in that process. It's, as I mentioned to another person the other day, Kundalini is a school for saints. And you hear that Billy Joel song, I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints. The sinners have much more fun. Well, they don't really. And what Billy Joel doesn't understand is that the saints are crying with joy, with love, with bliss, with ecstasy. And no amount of money can buy that. Kundalini brings that. Okay. And so this school for saints, this school for the exalted human being on the world at this time, is very real and very strong. And all you really need to do is give yourself some information about it. And I'm not saying, believe everything Chrism has to say. No. You just take whatever I give to you and let it settle with you as you feel is comfortable for you. You may not have some of the experiences that I'm talking about, so you may think, this guy's just full of hooey. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That's fine. That's fine. Sitting here in the living room and hearing the birds, talk behind me, and nobody's being hurt here. Nobody's being harmed. So you can take this information as you wish, and you can help other people with it. I noticed as I look at some of the listeners here, some of you have your own BlogTalk radio shows, and you're advising people spiritually. And so, yes, use this knowledge. Help those people. That's why this is being given. That's why you're not being charged for this. And I will encourage you not to charge people for this knowledge. Give it to them in the same spirit as it's been given to you. Now, one of the first remedies for Kundalini Syndrome is the Kundalini Awakening Safeties. And you can find these at the Kundalini Awakening Systems 1.com website. You go to that website, you can look at the left-hand margin, and it's about the fourth selection down. You'll see an offering called the Safeties. Click on the Safeties, and then copy those safeties. Copy them. Begin to live by those safeties. If you're having Kundalini Syndrome right now, if you begin to understand those and practice those safeties daily, you're going to begin to take yourself right out of that Kundalini Syndrome, and I mean fast. Inside of a few days, you're out of it. You're out of it. You're on your way into a very, very beautiful, very, very enlightening experience. Enlightening in a positive way, in a way that gives you wisdom and love-based intuition and many of the things that if you've been having a Kundalini Syndrome experience, you haven't been having. You haven't been having these beautiful aspects of the Kundalini, which is most of the time, by the way. Most of the time, this is extremely beautiful. Some of the triggers that can really also bring about the Kundalini Syndrome is the death of a loved one while you're freshly Kundalini activated. If you're seeking activation either through a certain methodology or listening to somebody's CD or receiving Shaktipat or doing a certain practice, review the dynamics of your family. If somebody's not healthy or, death is imminent, of a loved one, a close one, a mother, a father, brother, sister, husband, spouse, child, let that occur first. If you have any way to control that, let that scenario happen first. Grief inside the Kundalini can be very, very strong, and grief has its own special place within the Kundalini awakening syndrome, because it is a level of love. It's a level of love that you're going to miss this loved one that is passing away, and that can trap you. You become trapped by that love, that grief. And I want you to know that there most certainly is an afterlife. I've been there a few times now, and everybody is safe. Everybody is okay. You will see those loved ones again. They see you. They see you. It is not anything that you need to love them. Just continue to love them, but don't be dominated by your grief, and don't allow your grief to become so strong that it is amplified by the Kundalini, because it will be. That grief, normally would last a certain amount of time, will last 10 times longer. Okay, so really, really look at your situation before you initiate a Kundalini awakening experience, if that is what you're considering. If you're already inside the Kundalini, well, if you're inside it already and somebody's died, well, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? But I want you to realize that, and you will realize, and your Kundalini will tell you, do not worry about people who have passed. They've just passed into another expression. They're not gone, so to speak. They're just outside of your five senses, that's all. If you begin to accept what the Kundalini is bringing you and changing you into, you can see into those areas. You'll be able to see them again. But don't activate the Kundalini just because you want to see a loved one who's passed on. Okay, that's this is ego. That ego will try to control the Kundalini, and the Kundalini does not respond well to ego control. So remember that. Understand that. Take that into your informational experience. Follow the safety protocols. Do the eye lock, the tongue lock, the finger lock, the chin lock. These locks are designed to assist the energy in flowing. Begin to do your forgivenesses. If anyone has hurt you in your life, well, you forgive them, and you forgive yourself for whatever you may have done to encourage them to hurt you or in response to them hurting you. Do your forgiveness. This is a big, big, big key to the dungeon door of Kundalini Syndrome. Do your forgivenesses. Do not hurt anybody. Do not hurt yourself. Stop partaking of substances that are hurtful to you, such as alcohol. Do not do alcohol at all. Do not do caffeine at all. I know. All of you coffee drinkers, black tea drinkers, you're going, what do you mean don't do caffeine? How do you expect me to get up in the morning? Well, yeah, believe it or not, as you were a child, you were able to get up quite easily without that cup of caffeine. And I'm going to suggest that within a Kundalini context, caffeine is the key to a Kundalini syndrome. It gives you the opportunity to go into the syndrome faster than you would without having caffeine present in your system. Caffeine is an adrenal stimulant, and so your adrenals become hyperactive and hyper-expressive in the amount of adrenaline that is put into the bloodstream. And this is the body's own version of speed or methamphetamine. And, as you have this fight or flee hormone without anyone to fight or flee, well, you're going to create things to fight or flee to justify the amount of adrenaline in the system. And this is what brings on fear and paranoia. So don't do the caffeine. Do your best to stay away from caffeine. Along the same line of the kidneys and the adrenals, eat as much watermelon as you can, best in the morning. Eat as much watermelon as you can. Watermelon is a real blessed fruit that has a combination of specific nutrients that really, really, really assist a Kundalini awakening person in keeping the levels of hydration good, keeping the levels of electrolytes, very healthy. Everything from the zinc and the selenium and all of it's a combination that watermelon has that is very, very beneficial to Kundalini people. So, eat the watermelon. Even if you don't like the taste of it, eat the watermelon. Another option is coconut milk, coconut water, coconut milk. If watermelon isn't in season, then if you have the opportunity to get a coconut, then the coconuts also serve a very positive purpose for the Kundalini awakening person, especially those that are in the syndrome, the Kundalini syndrome. Once again, and I'll say again, don't pay attention to anything that is coming to you spiritually by way of entities. No matter what they promise, they do not have your best interests at heart. No matter what they say, do not listen to them. Steer clear of that. The more you ignore them, the less they become an active feature in your Kundalini awakening experience. So take out the caffeine, take out processed sugars, white processed sugars, high fructose corn syrups. Do not do that. Do not do those. You can have a positive experience with stevia or any of the other natural, less processed, organic sweeteners. Do not do MSG. Do not do what are these things called? Aspartame. I think that's how you pronounce it. I forget what the logo name of that is, but do not do aspartame. Do not do these things that are just like little workarounds, not eating sugar or stuff like that. If you're going to have sugar, at least have good, clean, minimally processed sugar. Don't get tripped up over this agave thing. Do not eat the agave sweetened product. This whole agave sweetener myth is just a trap. It's one of the most processed sugars out there. So watch your levels of don't pick up the agave item off of the grocery shelf. Watch your spices, your really, really hot spices. Inside of a Kundalini awakening or a Kundalini syndrome, this is not happy land for you. Try to keep your food as bland as you can be for a time. This isn't forever. This is for, maybe the first year or two. And if you start paying attention to your Kundalini, it will kind of give you a compulsion to eat a certain food or not. And that is a very good indicator right there. But when you're inside of the safeties, when you're following the safeties, your Kundalini will recognize itself within the safety. The Kundalini wrote the safeties. So your Kundalini will look at the safety protocols and go, yes, exactly. And it will begin to adopt specific ways of communication with you that will allow you to stay away from fear, stay away from, self-abuse or stay away from pornography and all of these things. Okay? So look at those safety protocols and adopt them as a daily expression into your life, and that includes the 5 Tibetans, and it also the safeties are not just the 5 Tibetans. You get a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, I've been doing the safeties all my life," and I just have to smile and go, "Oh, really? You were doing the 5 Tibetans when you were 3. Well, how cool is that? So don't think that you can just read the safeties and go, oh, well, I've been doing these. Go and do the safeties, word for word. Do the safeties. Another thing that will help you with the Kundalini Awakening Syndrome is grounding yourself. I have a video on YouTube. It's all about grounding yourself. I have an article on all the various groups. It's called Grounding. Grounding is extremely important. And I will strongly suggest, that you do your grounding. Sit next to a tree and let the tree become an extension of your soul, of your body, of your expression. Let the tree ground you to this world. Often, we're off in the stratosphere with the Kundalini, where experiencing these extremely high highs and being pulled this way and that by angelic and energetic forces. Ground yourself. Walk barefoot on the bare soil and feel that connection you have with the earth. Just feeling the dirt on the bottoms of your feet is a tremendous grounding experience. Sit on the ground. Now, I'm one of these terrible people that will suggest that you sit bare skin to bare soil. So, however you can do that without getting in trouble, do that. I suggest privacy, backyard privacy. You name it. I suggest, being as private about this as you can. And that's another thing. Once you figure that you have Kundalini, and say you're kind of swerving into the Kundalini Syndrome area, it is best not to discuss this with people that don't have Kundalini. It will just frighten them. It will just scare them. And their fear response, out of love for you, their fear response will be deleterious for you. You don't need their fear. You don't need their invalidation of what is occurring. Because it's not happening to them. They will invalidate your experience. And there's no need for that. There's no need for that. Unfortunately, in the West, and actually in many places in India and China, the Kundalini isn't understood very well, and very, 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 very few practitioners in the world today do what we're doing right here, giving people information on how to surrender to the Kundalini, how to accept the Kundalini, how to pay attention to the Kundalini, not how to control it. I'm not so hot on saying, okay, well, step 1 in controlling the Kundalini is this. No. The Kundalini is allowed to control you. And as soon as you're able to begin a conversation with this energy within you, the better your experience is going to be. And the more you're able to surrender and accept what it brings to you, the better and more positive your experience is going to be with the Kundalini. Your ego does not control the Kundalini. Okay, it doesn't control the divine. Your ego is basically here to help you within the 5 sense context survive on this world in the different societies. Your will, which is different from your ego, your will does not control the Kundalini, but what it does is it controls your personal response to the Kundalini. And so I will suggest that you begin to let your will be controlled by your Kundalini. And this makes things so much better for you, so much better. And, you won't necessarily have to have the kriyas at work or the orgasms during that business meeting. That's not the easiest thing to do. It's like, your boss asks you, why are you squinting your eyes like that? So let your will be dominated by the Kundalini and begin that conversation. The conversation would go like, we'll say, okay, I'm having kriyas at work, and I'm a neurosurgeon, and I can't be having automatic yoga positions while I'm cutting into people's bodies. So say, Kundalini in me, please do not give me kriyas while I am at work. Any of the time that I am, except when I'm driving a car, my nights are yours. The days that I'm not working are yours, and I will accept your kriyas gratefully. But during work and during my driving time, please do not give me kriyas. And the Kundalini will hear this, and your kriyas will stop. If you've been having kriyas during work or when you're driving, which isn't typical, it knows that you're driving. But with your work, even though it knows that you're at work, it wants you to develop this conversation, this communication. And so it responds, and it will respond fairly immediate. And this is typically how things go. Now, if there's some other karmic type of scenario that is suggesting, your kriyas have to happen at work because you're a security guard, you're not moving around a lot. You're sitting there in this cubicle, so you can have kriyas. So talk with your Kundalini. Have this conversation. It is a conscious, energetic force of a divine quality that is expressing through you. Once again, divinity is real. Divinity is real. If I could say that 1,000 times in this radio show, I would. Divinity is real, and it has a real connection with you at the base of your spine. And inside your spine, Kundalini will come up, a channel that the ancient Sanskriti people called the Chitrini channel, little less than a hair in width. And that is one of its main, it feels like a huge channel when the Kundalini comes up, though. It feels like you've got an irrigation pipe stuck up your spine. So size is deceptive within the Kundalini context. Excuse me, one moment here. I'll take a drink. So I've been speaking about this now. There's a few people on here. Excuse me. If there's anybody that would like to call in, you can call in. The number is 347 would be the area code in the continental U.S. But once again, if you're calling from Europe or from Africa or South America or China or somewhere, you'll need to put the United States country code in front of that. And I believe the country code for the United States is 01. So the number is 347-934-0026. And I have have this little switchboard screen that they give me on the computer here, so I can see when you're calling in, and I will pick up the phone and do that. I would like to take this time to announce that Shandi Devi has an excellent show on Tantra. And I will be speaking with her at 2 o'clock, and we'll be talking about Tantra, and I would like to invite all of you to learn some more about Tantra here. And with that regard, Shandi, I see that you're in the chat room. Can you call up and come on the air and give people the details about your show? I'm afraid to get out of my little studio screen here. I'll accidentally disconnect or something like that. So, Shandi Devi, if you could give a call. The number is 347-934-0026, and I'm awaiting you to call in. I see we have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'd like to welcome everybody. I see there are some online users. Guest 7024-7071, 7159, 7437. 8068 Masiba and Sunti. I'd like to thank you all for listening in today. I think this might be Shandi right here. Hello? Hello? Oh, Lordy. Put you on hold here. Yeah. Not quite sure how that works. I got 2 callers now. Let me try again here. Come on. Okay. Hello. Is this Shandi? We'll have to speak here. I hope this is working. Anyway, 323-202-0516. I'm answering your call, but I'll go ahead and put you on hold because I can't hear you for some reason. But hopefully you can hear me. So I will be speaking on Shandi Devi's show, and I think you can just go into her. You spell her name Chandi, and then the next word is Devi, and it's Devi. And she has an excellent blog talk show. Matter of fact, if you go to the blog talk search window and you just put Shandi Devi, or the Karma Cafe is the name of her show, Karma Cafe, and she has her program here on BlogTalk Radio as well, and I'll be speaking with her later on, actually a half hour after we finish the show. So, make sure it's still on here. Yeah, host call in. So, back to the Kundalini Syndrome. Let the Kundalini be in charge of, oh, hey, what's going on here? Hello? So weird. You can tell I'm just like this really experienced radio show host, right? Anyway, so let the Kundalini begin to...
Hello?
Hi!
There you go. You were pushing the wrong button.
I have no idea what I'm doing here. Hi, Shandi. Everybody, this is Shandi Devi.
Hello.
And can you give our listeners information about your show?
Oh, okay. It's 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and it's on BlogTalk Radio / Karma Cafe. And the show
How do you
is
spell
called,
Karma Cafe? How do you spell that?
Karma, and Cafe is CAFFE. So there's 2 F's. And the show is Kundalini and Tantra.
Yeah, and
Because
do you
it's
have?
spiritual.
Are there archives? I mean, of the other shows you and I have done together?
Yes. There's some really great archive shows with Chrism, and you can even listen to them on iTunes, which is really cool. And it stays in the archives forever and ever. So people still come back and listen to these shows, and they're very, very informative. So welcome, and please take advantage of it.
Thank you, Shandi. Thank you for coming on.
I was trying to. It's funny. I was trying to. I got the screen on, and then I heard you talking, saying to call in. And I thought, oh my gosh, he knows I was here.
Now, Shandi, I gave you Shaktipat a long time ago, right?
Yes.
And how is it that you didn't have Kundalini Syndrome?
Okay, what happened is, in fact, I wanted to talk about this. We could do it now even. I was thinking about it all morning. I thought, what, there's actually 3 steps of Kundalini, because the first one is what most people have, an experience. They have an experience, and that can result in nothing usually, because you're not aware that you've had it. But then an awakening takes place when you get Shaktipat, and I think that's what it is. And I also, because after the experience that I had, it took years before I finally started on a path, and the path was very, very severe, if you might. Where I did all the practices. I mean, I burned and burned and burned. I cried. Sometimes I wanted to take it back, like, okay, I changed my mind. But, of course, that's impossible. Once you're there, you're there. There's no turning back. Right. And I went through all that over a period of years, 10, 20 years. I mean, and each time you go through that, it kind of smooths out all the bumps that you have. And so by the time I met you, and when you did Shaktipat, I could feel it immediately. But I didn't have all that because I'd already been through all that.
You've done preparation for it without knowing that you were doing preparation.
Yeah.
You had been inside of a refinement experience and kind of a self-inflicted protocol of getting ready to receive the Kundalini and you'd also written you had already written the book Om to Orgasm, hadn't you?
Yes, I believe I had. Yes, and in fact,
can you give listeners information on that book?
Yeah, it's called From Om to Orgasm. And what it is it starts with Om, because I believe that's the whole preparatory thing that you have to undertake before you ever achieve the orgasm part. And for me, orgasm meant living in bliss. It's not just a one-time sexual thing. Once you reach that state, the bliss stays with you forever, then that's the true orgasm, the life orgasm. So that's what it was entitled, Om to Orgasm. And, some people would jokingly say, well, how come it's not orgasm to Om? I said, well, that's the default. That's the default method, So this was kind of the opposite, but you have to have the preparation. And even
the preparation will occur no matter what. It'll occur whether you know it or not, right?
Mhm.
It'll occur with it's going to occur, and that can be some of the difficult life experiences that a person has at the beginning.
And you have to kind of know. Yeah.
Thank you. I've got another caller on the line. I'm going to go ahead and put through. Okay. But everybody, I'd like you to join Shandi and I on the Karma Cafe Spiritual Hour. Is it an hour, Shandi?
It's 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Yes, and I look forward to talking to you and all the listeners. Please join us and call in. And we will see you soon.
And this will be about Tantra.
It's about Tantra and Kundalini. Yes.
Thank you, my dear.
Really great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Amelia Centara is here. So can you go ahead and, this must be the other caller here. Hello? Hello?
Oh, hello, Chrism. It is Amelia here. That other caller just dropped off.
Oh, gosh, I scared
No
him
worries.
away. Hey, thanks for listening. I thought you were recovering here. I forgot to mention, everyone, that Centara, she broke her wrist, and so I was giving her some time off, but evidently you're doing fine.
I'm doing fine. I just popped on there to listen, so it's lovely to hear you. So I'm doing fine, thank you.
Well, good, and we'll continue with those healings on that wrist. And everybody who would like to send Centara healing, it's her right wrist, and send some positive energies to her. Her Kundalini is doing a really good job right now, though.
Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, and thank you for helping me out with the switchboard here.
No worries. Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
So, let's see. We still have a 323-202 caller, and I believe they just wanted to listen. So I'm going to put them on hold so that they can listen. I believe that's how it works here. So here we go. So yes, the Kundalini Syndrome is also a form of preparation, similar to what Shandi Devi was talking about. You can have these harsh experiences as a child, and inside of the Kundalini, your preparation will continue. It's not all of a sudden, I've got Kundalini now, and I don't need to prepare anymore. I don't need to do any more refinement practices. If you stop doing that, the Kundalini is just going to give them to you anyway. So you may find that you're still challenged, even though you have the Kundalini, and you may ask yourself, why would I ever want to have Kundalini? If it's causing me all these problems, I'm in fear, and I lost my job, I lost my spouse, I lost my home, I'm living on the street, why on earth would I ever want to have that? And, that is a good question. When you're there on the street, and I've been there, you ask yourself, if this is life, I don't want any part of it. But you just have to keep going, because things are going to get better. Things will get better. And even for those of you who are locked inside the Kundalini Syndrome right now, if you follow the instructions that I have given to you on this program, or that some of the listeners, some of the guests who are listening, and if they have their own radio show like Shandi has her own show, follow these protocols. Follow these instructions. Stop resisting the Kundalini. Stop it. Surrender to the Kundalini. Let it do its job with you, which is changing you from the inside out. This is part of the reason why the path of the saint is so difficult, is because the path of the saint, they have to go through this. They've had to go through this. Any saint that's a real saint, not a political saint, but a real saint, they've had to have the Kundalini, and they've had to go through the purging of their ego, and the purging of their intellect, and the purging of their habits and their assumptions and their control issues. They had to go through all these purges of their assumptions of what is real and what isn't real. And this is the same thing that is happening for you who are inside of the Kundalini Syndrome right now. Now, there's more to be said about the syndrome, and I can't fit it all in this show. But if anybody writes in and if they want to get a hold of me, my email is K, as in starts with a K. Kundalini starts with a K, but King, K Fire, F-I-R-E, for all, F-O-R-A-L-L. So KFIREFORALL at yahoo.com. You can give me a call. Let me know how things are with you now. Try not to be so lost into your syndrome that you have created your reality. You know, be open to changing that reality. You know, if you've adopted language and practices that, you know, I'm this, say things along the line of indigo, well, this indigo person is doing this to me and I'm doing that to them, and, you know, all of this stuff, I would really strongly suggest that you begin to put aside some of the assumptions that we make of a spiritual nature that is descriptive of a certain process within the body. Put aside all your assumptions and come into this as cleanly and purely, without your assumptions, without your expectations. You know, do that as best that you can. Allow the Kundalini itself to begin to teach you, and so you come into this as a child. Come as a child and allow the divine within to teach you and to change you and to transform you. And I want you to have confidence in what is happening to you. Trust that you are being enlightened. And I mean this in a dual way. Enlightenment is really in, light, in. M-E-A-N-T. This is the light that was meant to be within you. Embrace that. Embrace your enlightenment. It's not giving you power over other people. It's not giving you control over the natural resources of this planet. Sometimes it is, but typically, you know, it's not about having leverage over life. It's about giving your life into a divine matrix, into a divine expression. And then the divine itself, as it comes through you, may have leverage over any aspect of life, whether it's physical, environmental, whatever it is. Divinity will have its way. And I think that is about it for now with this subject. Once again, go to the various groups. If you just joined, go to the group on the Kundalini Awakening Systems one at Yahoo, or the Kundalini Awakening Systems one at Facebook, or at Google Plus, the same name, Kundalini Awakening apostrophe, actually. Kundalini Awakening apostrophe, also on Facebook. I have a Kundalini Healing group at Yahoo Groups, and I encourage you to join that. And there's also a Kundalini Healing group on Facebook, and I encourage you to join that. And I encourage you to join that if you have a problem, like Santara, she hurt her wrist, and so first thing I tell her to do is get yourself on the healing group. Okay, so I encourage you, the listeners, to do this as well. I want to say hello to all of the people listening in the archives. I think the archives are a great way to listen to these programs. You can listen to them as whenever you feel like it, because not everybody is in the Pacific time zone. And so I welcome you, and I give a hello to you who listen on the archives, and appreciate you partaking of this information. And feel free to help yourself with this information and to help others too. This is about kindness. This is about selfless service. Selfless service. This is about giving knowledge about the Kundalini into our Western populations so that people don't need to be put into a psychiatric treatment facility, a.k.a. an insane asylum. People don't need to be homeless because, they're having this amazing and should be beautiful experience happening to them. In many cases should be, not all cases. For instance, in my case, I had to go through all of the hurt and all of the pain so that I would be able to help people from an authentic perspective. The authenticity of my awakening, it needed to take severe levels so that I could, the validation that I have for my experiences is very strong, and I can help others through that experience. And I encourage anybody else that has had strong, even challenging experiences through the Kundalini to help other people have the Kundalini. The Kundalini is going to come no matter what. When a person is ready, it comes. When a person is ready to have that interest, it will come. It's not like fruit on a tree, though. You hear this a lot. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. It's like, yeah, well, the teacher can be a bee sting. I mean, the teacher does not necessarily indicate a corporeal manifestation. The teacher can be the things that Shandi had to go through in preparation. The teacher can be that intuitive preparation that a person has, preparing themselves to have the Kundalini. And then, of course, when the Kundalini comes, when it does come, well, then the teacher has most definitely appeared. But it's appeared. The teacher's appeared inside your spine. How many, of your grade school teachers did that? So you may want to adjust your expectations of what a teacher is and how it comes and what it is to be ready when the student is ready. I will suggest that when the student is getting ready, the teacher has already come. That would be my little spin on that. Thank you all for listening to this program, and we'll be having another program next week. We're going to consider changing the time from 12 p.m. PST to another time that might be more conducive to people who, have to work on Wednesdays. So if you have any feedback about what the best time would be for you, let us know. And we'll definitely put that into the consideration. Anyway, thank you, everyone, for listening, and may you be blessed in your Kundalini Awakening experience.